All right, we are live, I believe. So, hello everyone. Kenyon here, Basketball Rewind, and guess what? Beyond's joining me. It's time to get rolling, and it's time to talk about the Yakinator of sorts, if we will. Beyond, let's just get right into it. You know,
That's hard to
what
follow, man. The Yakinator, that's a tough one to follow.
it is a tough one to follow. It's interesting. Yak is commonly one of the more impactful players on the court over the past few years that's been consistent, and yet he's oftentimes forgotten at the same time. So I think that's a good place to start. Your thoughts on Mr. Yak?
Well, I think his role on this team, as you said before, is a very large presence that I don't think a lot of people have identified. I think if you look at the philosophy of the coach and how he deems how he wants his offense to run, I've been mentioning now for 2 years. The focal point is the center, and I don't think people realize that still up to a day like today. I think we're gonna, but I do think it's gonna be interesting. We'll probably get into it more here. Is like we are gonna have what's it called? The immovable object versus the immovable force versus the what's the other thing they say? Oops, I lost you for a second. You're on mute.
Unstoppable object versus the mule. One is unstoppable, one is immovable.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly. Right. And what
yeah,
I mean by that is that the philosophy of Darko and how he likes to run offense through his center, and then you have a 20 plus or 22 or 24 point per game score that scores very radically differently than what Darko would like to do. So this is going to be fascinating to watch, especially for the first month or two to see how this plays out.
for sure, for sure. It is going to be interesting. I will definitely see as people stroll in here. Just to jump into the stats, last year, these are his stats on basketball reference, of course, and we're going to go through some of these as we go. We're going to start off here, and of course, as we get into it, um, he scored 14.5 points. So basically, if we round up 10 rebounds, but 9.6 rebounds and just a touch under 3 assists. And he did it from an overall perspective on a fairly efficient field goal perspective, their percentage. What I noticed though going through the tape is that doesn't tell the whole story. There are some positives, there's some negatives, but in some ways, beyond as I was watching his tape, I actually kind of felt bad for Yak in some ways because it's almost like we got not only did we get the center that wasn't their best fitting center to start off with, but we don't really the only guy who was really consistently able to run pick and roll with him, or anytime they have anyone who's able to run pick and roll with him, that person gets shipped out right away. So I find that that's very interesting. He had 20 PER. I know people don't focus too heavily on PER, but I thought that's a sizable amount for someone like him. He's been a fairly efficient player, even from an advanced rating standpoint. Again, I ignore 36 per 36 possessions. Tend to focus on per 100 for different reasons. We'll get into another day. But as you can see, he had a positive rating on both ends of the court from a box plus minus standpoint. So before I go any further, we're definitely going to look at some lineup data. There's one other thing that I wanted to look at, which is the oh so great shooting chart of Jakob Poeltl. I'm just going to kind of get this and delete that out and go and focus in on here. And it's very interesting because, again, his range is basically the rim, more or less, right here. Okay. But the other thing that is that as soon as he goes anywhere outside of the rim, outside of this corner right here where he shot 100% 1 of 1, um, again, almost 50% anywhere in the paint is pretty solid. It's above league average, but you could see the significant drop off anywhere away from the rim, with the rim being and close to the rim, like within 3 feet, essentially being I think 3/4 of his shots, more or less, or 4/5 of his shot. So 80% of his shots are coming here, and then 20% of his shots, of the remaining shots, are coming from here. Very big dip in efficiency. But yeah, But he's very efficient within this range, and we will get into some of that in just a second. Your thoughts so far?
Well, I must admit, the first thing that jumped out at me was I didn't realize he had averaged that many points per game. That's the first thing that jumped out at me. I was like, he almost averaged 15 a game. And then the PR you mentioned is the second part of it, which is like the question you have to ask is, should a player of his skill set, and now you're showing what you showed the actual shot chart, should that type of player be getting that many touches? Like that shot chart essentially is a shot chart for Shaquille O'Neal. Right? I'm sure if you went back to 1996 or 1998 and you saw Shaquille O'Neal's shot chart, it would look something like that.
Probably, yeah. I think that's probably pretty fair.
Exactly. But that's Shaquille O'Neal. That gives you like 31 points per game and has probably a PR close to about, I don't know, 27, 28. Like, like for Yacht to be eaten up that much, like that there alone is already a fly in the ointment when that's what we're looking at.
Definitely.
And then you top the shot chart, like, it does go and speak to the issue that I think is going to be a recurring trend when we have all these discussions. We had a little bit of it last week, or a couple of weeks ago, I guess last week, we spoke a little bit about Grady. We haven't gotten to Grady in theory, but when
we will get to Grady in some of these clips, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But when you speak to this, like where he's operating, he is like a fire hydrant in there. There is no way of moving him from there. And everybody else on this roster, at least for the starting, if you think about the 4 or 5 top scorers on this team, not including Yacht, since he is one of them based on his numbers, they all hover around the elbow extended for the most part for their strengths. So I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work. I said before, this is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out because we're going to be a bit like musical chairs, man, where someone's going to end up and the music's going to stop and someone's not going to be in the favorite spot they like to be
in. Yeah. The way that I look at it is this. In terms of strictly his offense, there are times when you watch him play and the challenge with Yak is 2 things. Number one, there's this new age viewpoint that the numbers bear out where you can be just as successful with a smaller player or we'll focus on a guard. Usually it's a guard at times in the dunker spot instead of a traditional big man in the dunker spot. And there is, I think, some merit to that if you have the right athletic guard. I don't know if we have that type of team. So there's a lot of times in these clips that we'll get to in just a second where when he's catching the ball or when he's even running pick and roll, he's so far out. It's a lot of high pick and roll, like extreme high pick and roll to me. And I think that it's too high. It's too high. And then there's other times, to your point, where he's being tasked. I don't want to say too early too early in the shot clock as a guy who basically the play is breaking down. Fair enough, but this guy has to kind of create his own shot. Now, sometimes he's able to do it, and then in other cases, it don't quite always work. So we're going to look at one of those situations right now. I'm just going to try to pull this up right here. And let's see if I got it correct. Boy, enjoying things. Sorry, I'm going to just turn that down for folks. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for you. So we're going to go back here. So here, as we start to play, he starts off running pick and roll on Giannis, but then ends up saying no, we're going to reject the screen. And he gets the ball with in the place of where RJ was going to be. RJ is going to then come down. I don't know if you can see my mouse, so I'll just walk through it. RJ is going to go and set a screen for Grady, and then Grady's going to try to either come around the screen and then go downhill, or if he gets blocked, the second thing is to roll back this way, the opposite way towards the crowd, and then back down towards the hoop. This is a broken play early on, but this ends up not going the way that it was supposed to go. Now, this was a successful play, but do you really want Poeltl in this situation again? So you have Brook Lopez. I guess because Brook Lopez is hedging up so high. So again, going back, we had the same thing. So Grady should be coming around the screen there. And Poeltl saying, I got this. And in some ways, Grady actually messed up here because at this point, Grady should not be bringing his man over to Poeltl, so he messed up there. But now that you're here, boom, he gets the bump, creates small, minor bit of space, and goes up. I think he made something out of nothing there, but it's not what I would say is a ideal play.
No, that's not good offense, right? Like he made something on that. And this is funny. This is the second play you showed in a row where it's like the play worked out right, but it really wasn't the right way it should have been executed.
Oh, you mean like from last time? Yeah.
Last time we had the Grady Scotty Poeltl pick, in this case, the Poeltl thing. Once again, it worked out right. It's like, oh boy, we got away with one year, but it really should have worked out. There you go. Because when it's all said and done, to your point, when you put Poeltl up that high, for the most part, honestly, I don't know why Brook Lopez was playing him so aggressively. He can't shoot.
No.
It
was bad defense by Brook Lopez.
Yeah. Just play back with your long arms and just cover the passing lanes. So that was the mistake made by Milwaukee. But Poeltl being out there anywhere near the 3-point line is a waste of time. We saw it last week where it's pretty much essentially why Kyrie was so easily able to get back in there is that you didn't have to really worry about, Poeltl being an offensive threat. So you can just go and you can just be aggressive and duck under and try to get to Grady. Now, obviously the height of Grady worked out and you got the shot off anyhow. But having Poeltl out there, essentially you're just drawing two men to whoever's getting the ball.
Yeah. Now I'm going to show you another one. Poeltl does good on these broken plays. This was a missed opportunity, in my opinion, by RJ. Sorry about the sound. I don't know how to start it without the sound. I will figure that out. So, is it too loud on your end?
No, this was quieter than the first one.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. So this is one where again we're gonna go back to the start of the play. It's a pick and roll with RJ and Poeltl. RJ is really I through seeing these I understand a lot more the value of RJ because he's able to just relentlessly drive. But you also see that he makes bad decisions and sometimes he is going up against things that he shouldn't be going up against. And if he's not able to be more efficient in these areas, it reduces the value of the drive because it just ends up being not. I don't want to be too harsh, but it could be a waste of possession.
Let me put this from away in this case for I'm just saying for my mindset playing hoops. I can understand where RJ gets himself in these type of positions because it comes down to trust. Now, is he trusting in this case that he makes the pass to Poeltl? Poeltl's going to be able to finish this in traffic. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm a scorer, my better chance is I'll trust myself to get the shot off, even though in this case it's Brook Lopez I'm dealing with. That's the rationale I think sometimes, especially when you deal with a scorer, his mindset's like, you know what? If I pass this ball to Poeltl, this could go a whole heap of ways. He could kick it off his foot. He can bobble it, which we've seen at times. And in this case here, he might get up in this case and get fouled. And then it's like, okay, he might bridge 2 free throws, even though he was good at the free throw line last year for him.
I was going to say, to be honest, I'd rather him at the free throw line than RJ.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. But because there's no offensive creativity from Poeltl, you see right there. You see, there was an opportunity we could pass it, but he was nervous.
You saw exactly what I was trying to point out. Exactly. Yeah. So right there. Yeah. So if I go right here, like a second ago, first, okay, this is actually there's two things that are happening here. So first of all, Poeltl shouldn't be stopping. He should be continuing to go down to the hoop. So this is partially on Poeltl, which is wrong because to your point, this indicates this is actually early on in the season, so it does make sense. There's a trust issue, but Poeltl also should be adjusting his angle ever so slightly more towards the area closer to where I don't know who this dude is, but Beauchamp. Okay, so where Beauchamp is, right. So he should be like a slight tad bit over, but that's nitpicking. But yeah, at this point now, he technically should be trying to screen his man out of the way for RJ to now have a better lane. So he's not doing that either. So this is me. I'm kind of giving Pirtle a little bit of a hard time here.
Yeah, but I think
But RJ also missed the initial.
But I also got to give credit to the Milwaukee defense. This time, Brook Lopez played it right because
yes, he did.
He shot the shot chart you just showed. And in other words, if you're
he's looking at this guy, he's worried about the rim, which is his job, and he sees that this man is just not Porzingis, he is Pirtle, right? So
I can drop as far as I want almost to almost meet the rim. And I can take a chance with it. So
then you'll see what happens. Boom. Wow. And then Poeltl bobbled. He gets lucky there, right. and then again RJ is getting blocked again.
Great block, man! My gosh, the long arm of the law, Brook Lopez.
So it was a good decision to pass, but you could tell he's just like, nah, I ain't going up against this man again. Boom, blocked. Thing, it's done. Okay.
And this is the unfortunate part with Poeltl. Is Poeltl reminds me so much of like a 90s center. Like he really is a man out of time. Because those are the guys you would see in the 90s where they're not really jump shooters, but they're not really rim runners either. They're just guys that set really good picks and kind of like, do this stuff. They were just, I can't remember, it's like Greg Ostertag. That's what I'm talking about here, right? That's really, really talking about.
You got to stop it. That's disrespectful.
Bring it back there. I see you, Utah. I see you. Big double zero. Kansas in the building.
Well,
Rock, Jayhawk.
Since we're talking about Utah people, we're certainly not talking about Mehmet Okur here. So
yeah, we no. We get no pick and pop on this book.
No. It's pick and one way.
Right. It's picking this little push shot. That's what we're getting.
Yeah. So I mean, so we will get to a couple of things with Grady again. This is a team that I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it runs one of the lowest amounts of pick and roll. And yet the guy that is one of the most crucial guys to you staying in as a competent team on a regular basis, you don't utilize him as much. First of all, you probably utilize him too much on offense, but you don't have the personnel to really utilize him in the way that he should be utilized anyways.
Yeah, and I think this is the problem because, like, we have seen him utilized that way before when you had a guy who's a very competent pick and roll player. And I'm not sure that's really what you want, where you want to have some Stockton, since we're in Utah, some Stockton Malone action like every single time we're running.
Not really, not particularly.
When Fred got paid, right? It was pick and roll city.
I'm sorry, this is a nice pass.
Oh yeah, it's a good look. Good, duck inside there nicely.
So we'll get into this another time, but there are times last year where with certain guys on the court, the ball actually does zip around a bit more than with other guys on the court. And this is more of a bench unit. It's like RJ and bench unit. Yeah, obviously RJ is going to be taking a sizable portion at times of the offense. But at other times he's not. And so this is a good example where it's like quick decision. There is a quick drive. It wasn't the best drive. He got into a little bit of trouble, Shed did, but quick drive. Of course, the way it's interesting because Miami in this game, they ended up, I believe, whooping us. But trust me, I saw a lot more highlights from this game. But they really kind of were ignoring the Raptors with some respect in terms of guarding Bam against Poeltl because they know that he's not really a threat. So they were just basically funny enough, they were trying to funnel things into Poeltl, in my opinion. I could be wrong here, but they were trying to funnel things into Poeltl and then use their hands-ear guys to kind of disrupt things. Poeltl did a good job. And what I find is that when a play is somewhat broken up, or when Poeltl is against a smaller player, he can and does take advantage.
Yeah. But what was interesting here, I think Spoelstra was actually coming with a philosophy of like, we're going to bait you to go inside the Poeltl.
Yes.
And then Bam, in this case, is an off defender and do what was one of his great strengths, which is be a weak side defender at times. That so it plays the.
It's hard with this one because he can't recover that way. But you have Jaime Hawkins at least down there, and yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens because now they have Wiggins. This is definitely before the Wiggins element was there, but yeah. So, before, I mean, trust me, there's a lot of film what we can go through, but before we get into more film, like, yeah, I just wonder what you think so far, just to kind of go put a bow on it so far. Oh, hello? Did I lose Beyond? Beyond, I think I lost you. Okay, well, while I wait for Beyond to return, I'm going to go through some of the numbers, just in terms of some of the numbers. And hopefully Beyond is able to return because he looks like he's frozen right now. And we are just going to power through this. So, yeah. So, some of these lineups are obviously not going to matter as much because some of the players are gone, like Chris Boucher. So, I'm not going to focus on those. But I'm going to look at a little bit about how these players performed with and without Poeltl on the floor, and kind of just go from there. So, first of all, we're going to look at probably one of the more important players on the team. That's going to be Scotty Barnes. It shows the amount of minutes that he played with and without Scotty. So he played more minutes with Scotty than without Scotty. But we can see the impact that they had on one another. Without Jakob, obviously Scotty's points ticks up a bit. He does tend to look for Poeltl in the post at times. I'm going to get into some of those type of reads that he had. But what's interesting is with Poeltl on the floor, even though Poeltl is not the best center in terms of spacing the floor and making the thing easier, the spacing easier for Scotty, Poeltl actually, both of them perform better with one another. I think part of that comes from the amount of effort and energy that they are expending on the defensive end for each other. And so, although I haven't really dug into those specific numbers, that would be my guess as an explanation for why this is the case. But definitely you're going to see times where, when Poeltl is on, yes, their points kind of rebounds and whatever tick up, but their efficiency is better with one another on the floor. This is not necessarily something that is common or always the case where each other is on the floor, but with this instance, it is. The other thing that's very interesting is that both perform better at the rim. And why that's interesting is because, again, Scotty does not have the best shooting range, was not the most efficient player, and Poeltl, we saw that his range is essentially at the rim, and yet they both improve for one another. I think it comes down to you have someone who's able to screen for others and create sometimes those off-ball movements for someone like a Grady, for example, where he can actually create essentially some sort of movement off ball because people are able to use them as a screen to allow Scotty to go a little bit more downhill. Quickly is going to be the other thing, which is very interesting, is that more or less the stats are kind of the same, but the thing that is the most obvious is that Quickly really suffers. They suffer in terms of where, like at the rim, Quickly struggles at the rim in just in general, but with Poeltl off the floor, he can attack the rim a lot more easily. And from that perspective, I think part of it is what I'm noticing is because there needs to be a building of chemistry, there is going to be times when a guy is going to be dragging his other guy into his defender into where the spot that should be actually not occupied by his defender, which cramps the spacing. This needs to improve this year, and I think that yes, there's a bit of onus on the players to be better with their decision making, but ultimately, I think even beyond the players and their decision making, the structure of the offense needs to be better in terms of where players need to go, and that goes back to coaching. I'm going to ignore Kelly Olynyk. Going to look at a couple more of these while we're waiting for Beyond to join and see where he is at and go from there. So, okay, yeah, he will be back soon. So, one quick second, folks. I'm actually going to go grab a tiny bit of water for myself as we continue on these type of things. Actually, Beyond is back. So, as he's back, again, some of these players I'm just not going to dive into a lot because obviously Davion Mitchell he's not on the team. So I'm not going to talk about Davion Mitchell. I'm not going to talk about Jared Roden. I'm not going to talk about Bruno Fernando. But Jacoby is very interesting. Without, again, Scotty had better rim attacking on percentage with Pirtle on the floor, but it's interesting. Every other player is worse at the rim with Pirtle on the floor. So again, it's like he's helping other players to kind of move around screens to get open, which is helping Scotty, but it doesn't necessarily help other players. So this is where a guy like Yavu, I'm not gonna pronounce Mamu's full name, but Mamu is gonna obviously struggle. See someone saying, "Hey, beyond it, you're back."
Difficulty. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Raptors will be top 6 in the East. Below that will be a disappointment. It's possible. There is definitely a world where they can be top 6. I am not going to bet on that, and I would suggest you do not either because I am assuming that you like your money. But I think that they could be in the play-in range. I think if they stay together or if they shuffle the board in the right way and maintain some sort of balance or get better balance on the roster, there is a world where the Raptors could be closer to top 6 than they could be to 10th. I have them winning around 38 to 40 games. That's my range. Assuming that this is just assuming no major trades happen. Major trades would swing it one way or another. Beyond, you missed it, but I was kind of going through the lineup data and giving my personal explanation. So just to kind of recap really quickly. So I ignored people that were that we've seen that are not with us anymore. Just to put it simply, they are on to better places. The interesting thing is that Scotty's rim percentage gets better, as does Poeltl, with each other on the floor. However, for most other players that I've gone through so far, I haven't gotten to Grady yet, there is a big jump in efficiency up with Poeltl off the floor, like we see right here with Quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So Quickly, yeah.
No, I'm just curious what you attribute for Scotty and Poeltl's correlation.
Because Darko is putting the onus on Poeltl to be, because he's one of the only screeners, to screen for other guys, he's allowing guys like Grady to be on the floor in a much more manageable way where he's able to kind of like run around Poeltl screens, which opens things up. And Poeltl's also always way, way away from the hoop because they're running high pick and roll and stuff like that. So for that reason, it's beneficial for each other. But that is not helping the other guys to get open because you're putting so much onus on helping Scotty.
Gotcha.
Again, I'm going to ignore Kelly Olynyk. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm curious to discuss, like, I'm not sure if you've started touching on this, but like Poeltl on the other side of the ball.
I have not yet. But I wanted to find Grady first, and then we can go from there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I think that's another interesting aspect, how they deploy Poeltl defensively. I have my thoughts about it.
Yeah. I like Samson mentioned that they tag up a bit. Now, if he means that they tag up as in they push their main guy in closer to the rim, they do that at times. But I don't know if that's like playing a really physical style of play, but also trying to play 94 feet or whatever the heck they're trying to do in Summer League. I don't think that that's sustainable. So here are the numbers with Grady. I'm going to let you talk through these numbers and give an explanation. I'm just going to grab some water real quick.
Yeah, I think watching how Grady and he are playing with each other, at certain points Grady's assists go up, so he has a tad bit a little more space to kind of make plays. Because I said there's certain gravitational elements to the pick and roll that Poeltl sets. We see here also too a little bit of a jump in this case here as well when it comes to rebounding, which is an interesting one. I think maybe this is one of these things maybe where Grady gets a little bit more stuff on the weak side when someone else is running pick and roll with Poeltl. and therefore he could sneak in this case on the weak side and get some more rebounding from that. So that might be a little bit that we've seen a few times where he had some tipping opportunities. He's always trying to cram it on a few dudes and those type of opportunities. And then the other one's interesting too, free throw attempts. Now this one is interesting. It goes up a little bit with Poeltl, and once again, because there's so much activity with him and Poeltl coming off of screens, it kind of puts people in some odd situations where they're maybe jumping out at Grady. We saw one just last week where Kyrie actually did a good job of jumping away from Grady and still challenging the shot. But a lot of times, a lot of defenders are very sloppy, get underneath the feet, things of that nature, and it creates opportunities for Grady to get the line. Or maybe a tad bit more, a fraction more. 3-point percentage, I'll leave that one alone. For the Poeltl side of things, in this case here, true shooting percentage actually creeps up with Grady, which maybe is the threat of Grady as a shooter, gives him a little more space to dive and get opportunities that maybe he might get with guys that are not as good shooters, and therefore there's less space for him to operate when he does do the dive from the screen with Grady. So that might be what's attributing to some of that increase for Poeltl when it comes to true shooting percentage. And points go up, and that's a fair amount actually with Grady on the floor. So that is also an interesting marker. Which might be a very similar situation for the true shooting percentage, where Grady's such a threat that everyone's looking at Grady, everyone's hedging on Grady, that it gives him a little more space to dive and makes passing a little bit easier for him in this case to finish around the hoop.
Yeah, so you can't see my screen what I'm looking at. You can see my cursor, but I'm actually looking, prepping some videos in advance, just some more offensive videos. I know you're probably sick of watching Poeltl offense at this point, but I do think that there are a couple interesting things to kind of pick out still. So I'm just gonna change my screen just for now, really quickly, so that you can kind of see. So this next one is going to be basically it's going to be Grady. This ended up not going in for either, but Grady has a lot of these things where he was attacking the hoop a lot last year, and I think that there's something there. Sorry, 1 second. And just making sure.
Yeah, I am fascinated to see what the Grady numbers look like when you do that chart comparing him to his teammates and how
Harris, Duran,
more of an addition or subtraction depending who's on the floor with him. That's going to be interesting because you've shown those sets of charts a few times now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen at least the trend does seem to be that when Grady's on the floor, other guys' offensive efficiency seems to get better. You've done one with RJ. Have we seen it? You just did one with Poeltl. And I'm curious to see what it looks like when you get some other guys when we, if we do a Grady deep dive.
We will definitely. I enjoy these deep dives actually, and I think we'll continue to do these things. So we will definitely get to Grady and touch on it. I just added this. This is probably going to be our last or one of our last offensive plays. Then we'll get into some defensive plays and some defensive talk, and then go from there. Really quickly though. So again, this is not as high pick and roll. They ran really high pick and roll, like about where Grady is standing right here when Davion was there, and it was just like, holy smokes! Like at some point, like we can't be doing this.
Are you serious? I don't see it at the moment.
You don't see my screen?
There we go. Now I see it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of these ones where Grady is attacking. Now I have thoughts on Grady. I'm going to get to that in a second, but this is a good solid roll down. I mean, Poeltl's not the fastest roller, but he's good. But this is one where there's actually a couple, if you don't mind more, if you're okay watching a couple more of these, where I've noticed that against bigger centers, he really struggles. And that's where the key is. Like even Miles Turner, when Miles Turner decided to okay, I'm going to play physical tonight, he really struggled against those Pacers where Miles Turner had at 1.4 blocks. And it was all on Poeltl.
Well, they think this speaks to what I was about to notice with the play right there is that because he's let's put it this way, vertically challenged.
Yes.
Like if you pass that ball right there and say that's Lively, right?
Yeah.
That's a dunk.
Yeah, you mean a lob threat? Yeah.
lob start or a running start with 1-2 steps for a guy like Lively, that's a dunk. That guy's coming from the corner for Miami. He's not getting in the way. He ain't trying to be in the poster. But because he's vertically challenged, you pass that, and then I'm going from Grady's perspective, perhaps. You pass that to him, that could be a travel, a charge, a bad-looking shot going up in the air. So sometimes when everyone says, oh, what the heck was Grady or RJ doing with forcing that shot up? You don't look and see what else is the context of what's going on here, right? If you go one more thing, one more dribble, right there, bingo.
This is actually when he should be passing, by the way.
This is the pass. That's what I'm saying. That's the pass right there.
Yeah.
Right? But because he's vertically challenged, it makes a much more high-end or high-risk play now because it's Poeltl versus like, say, I just use Lively. Pick another springy center in this case here. Even Hartenstein, who could, if he gets a little bit of a little runway in this case here, he's going to throw it down on you. Right? Like so.
Also a say we'll use Bam as an example. Because Bam is shorter, but Bam has the athletics ability. Right. Bam would be level with Grady at this point.
Exactly, because he has the speed too.
Because he has the speed. Yeah. So he'd be down there, which then Tobias Harris, it looks like, would have a really difficult decision. Right. Where it's like, okay, am I going to help out? Because it looks like Duran is not in position to help, so I have to help down, and now you have the defense in rotation. I don't know. I don't like what's going on in this corner on the opposite side.
Again, so I'm not sure. I lost the image again. So.
Oh, you don't see the image? I see the image.
So I'm not sure what happened. Oh, there it is. I'm not sure. Yeah, there we go. I think maybe when you start running it, it comes back up.
Okay. From my perspective, I see it. So I don't know.
Yeah. So but in both.
I see. That's weird.
Yeah, I see it. I see it now. But I think in both circumstances, the RJ play and the Grady play, you end up with these forced shots. And then if anyone was watching on TV, they're like, what the heck were they doing? But when you look back at it and see, like, okay, what's the decision here? And this is what we talk about, and this is probably a broader discussion when we have with Coach about the offensive philosophy of Darko, right? Like, if you look at this play, this is very similar to the play we talked about last week with Scotty and Grady and Poeltl. If you look at this play, look at all the other black jerseys there, there's no other option for Grady. Who's he going to pass if he's not past the Poeltl? Two guys are beside each other when he makes the move.
Yeah.
Right? There's no place to go. So this is the thing. You look at it. Okay.
I'm just going to share it like this because it's just easier for you to see it.
Yeah. There's no place
for I'm still learning how to share these things, people. No sorry.
But if you see there, to your point, I think you said, I can't remember who you said was coming there. It was Tobias Harris.
It was Tobias Harris, yeah.
So, so Tobias Harris coming down, dropping down here. When you see it ends up here because Poeltl once again can't shoot or is not an offensive threat really in the conventional way, everyone's crowding the paint now.
Right.
There's 5 guys in the paint. Good luck trying to get it out to that guy on the wing when he thinks there's Obaji out there.
Yeah.
There's just no. So the only other option he has is Poeltl, or he does what he ends up doing. And I think that sometimes we have to give more grace to the offensive player that for the Raptors, be it Scotty, be it Grady, be it RJ. When they're in those positions, they're kind of trapped because the play itself is designed quite honestly poorly.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, there's no so either A, I'll play devil's advocate. Either A, the way he drew it up, the guys didn't execute it properly, or B, that's the way he drew it up. Either way, there's no spacing on that floor, and there's no options for Grady. So I gotta flip up a bad shot.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's one from the Miami game that is quite interesting. Let me see if I can actually pull it up there from early December. I'm just going to pull it up on my side in a way that at least you'll be able to see it more easily, and it won't pause the screen. But the interesting thing about it is that Scotty for that Miami game was really good with his attacking. So actually I was wrong. The Raptors won by 3. What made Scotty's attack so effective is he had a running start, number one, and he was able to go inside, and he didn't have it was a straight line drive basically, and didn't have to do a lot of decision making. Just straight line, boom. I'm gonna 1, 2, and then go and attack.
That was a Sunday night game. I remember it was like a 6:00 Sunday night game. That was actually I think it's his best game of the season. That
It's
Miami,
up there. It's I mean, it's fairly
number-
efficient. It's 90, it's 50, 40, and 60. He didn't get to the line a lot, but that's okay. I mean, he got to the line 5 times overall, but he did like what that, to your point, it was like a very complete game. It had 4 turnovers, yes,
that's
but
fine.
while having 4 turnovers, he had 9 assists. But
Right.
he got those 9 assists because he was really, really aggressive, and I thought he did a really good job.
That's why I think it's his best game of the
There's
season.
a consistency with his aggression throughout the game that lacks. And I know that people want to say, "Oh, well, he turns it up at this point." If you are going to be the guy, the quintessential man, it can't be when you deem it to be, like Superman or whatever. What do we got to do? Beg you?
Plus, quite honestly, I'll be straight right now. He's not talented enough of a scorer to kind of flip the switch.
No, and even his best proponents would say that he is not skilled at this point to that point. So you have to adjust by ramping up your aggression. Right. He is strong enough to do it, but like you have to. That's where the consistency, the ability to prepare your body for the season in that way. I mean, he got better as the season went on, but again, I always, for the entire team, not just Scotty, for the entire team, like I'm not reading into like the last third of a season where like you're going up against literally teams that like are also trying to out tank you, obviously. But that I digress. Let's get this back on stage. You can see this. So let me just get to the Pearl ones. I think that this is one of them. This is actually not the game that I was looking at, or looking for, I should say. Yeah, this is not the game that I was looking for. So yeah, I mean, this isn't bad, but this is kind of a very telegraphed play. So I'll just leave that there. But yeah, we'll talk about the defense right now, and I can pull up the stuff. The defense, again, the crafted numbers show that he's pretty good, and the crafted numbers are basically an aggregation of all the different defensive numbers. I think on offenses we can see, and I don't know if you can see the actual numbers themselves. I'll try to make it bigger here. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting old too. Don't worry. And so there we go. So 97th percentile overall aggregated across all the different defensive metrics. Again, there's other metrics that I sometimes look at, but this is a good quick snapshot. But the key thing is on offense, I think that his prowess is sometimes a little bit overstated. However, one of the things that I noticed consistently is that there were a lot of times where there was bad passes, and it was coming from, sometimes it was Scotty, sometimes it was Grady, sometimes it was Quickly, sometimes it was, you name it. Everyone like Oprah gets a bad pass on this team, and is a bad passer. And part of the thing is that it is a chemistry factor. I think that there's that, but I also think in general, like the guys need to learn how to play better together, which goes to the chemistry. But I don't know if there's a passing drill, but the passing sometimes is just bad. There's missed opportunities.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with the passing is there's not a lot of skilled passers on this team. B, the recipients of it need a lot of hand holding. So like there's a lot of guys out here that you get pass it to. For example, I'm trying to pick on because now he plays for a different team. But if you make a pass in this case for Boucher, you gotta make sure you get on the button. Right, there's a lot of guys like that on this team that have that. You have that concern with where it's like, you pass it to him. You gotta be careful because if it ain't just right, watch out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that I think that's one of the things. And a lot of guys I find on this team are very, very soft with the ball, man. And because that's another thing too is like if you have a team that does a lot of pressuring, especially perimeter pressuring, you can see how the Raptors tend to fall apart because they're just not really strong with the ball themselves. So, and then what ends up happening is everyone gets rushed and fast forwarded. They start panicking. They throw passes they shouldn't pass. Boom, folks get the passing lanes and it's layups and it's a layup and don't drill at that point. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, the one thing for Scotty for his passing specifically, I would say no more post entry passes because he's just like we don't have anyone on the team that can do a post entry pass, but his post entry passes tend to be very dangerous and almost picked off. Sometimes it works out, but it's not something that I think is it's not there yet right now. But I think when he's in the post and he's passing out of the post, focusing on those are really where he excels. So again, it's part of the challenge that you have is putting guys in positions to succeed.
Actually, I think Brandon Ingram would be interesting in that role if they get him to actually throw the ball in the post. And I think
he's someone where I'm interested in seeing what they have, but
because I think he has enough between playing with JV and with Zion. I think he's a much more natural post entry passer than maybe some of the guys that are on the current roster, where he's used to throwing the ball in the post to guys that are usually have post position, like be it his Big Z or his JV in the past.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
Even Steven Adams, I think, was on there. Yeah, Steven Adams played for New Orleans for a cup of coffee, right?
I think so. No. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. I think he did. Yes, before he got to Memphis. I think Adams was there for a minute too. So he's had his opportunities with those type of players. So
let's go through a couple of these. So that was good. That was actually really good timing by him on the OG thing. And also to like recover. He shouldn't have had to recover there. I think there was a little bit of bad communication. But right here, oh my gosh, this is bad by RJ and Grady. Like, holy smokes. Okay, let's see this again. So Cat is obviously Cat. Cat kind of clipped RJ a little bit, so I'm not gonna give him the hardest thing, but like that right there. Whoops, sorry. That right there made it really difficult. And allowed OG to go down.
Grady seemed to be in two minds. He wasn't sure, should I trail Bridges or should I try to come here and try to seal off the cut, the cut. And you got Ole in this case here. You had the old red cape on there. Ole, not sure what to do.
This is where the communication needs to get so much better. And I know people. The latest thing is a lot of people have said like, well, you just put Ochai on there. Ochai will help. Ochai is on the floor at this moment, but Ochai will help. But I don't think Ochai is a solve-all that people think. And like long term, there's still some challenges just by, you just put Ochai out there instead of RJ and Grady. So that'll be interesting. But yeah,
but this is an interesting illustration, right? Because this is one of the few times in my mind where, well, I'm going to say few is a bit too harsh, but this is what I envision if you had a true shot blocker, right? So look how in the previous
that was so bad. Sorry.
So no, it's okay. Where he cleaned up the mess from the mistake that RJ and Grady made, right? Which then makes them look a little bit better defensively because they have a center that cleans up the mess. But Poeltl's not a guy that really cleans up messes that often.
And he bumbles and fumbles it because, to your point, he is vertically challenged.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of his ability to jump.
What's going on?
Okay, so he ends up saving the play at the end. So spoiler alert. But yeah, so the Raptors had the ball. They get in their set early, and they're down. They start with Poeltl in the post this time.
Okay, it stopped right there. You see, this is what I'm talking about when you have an offense that makes no sense.
Yeah, you mean why is Poeltl now going away from the hoop?
Right. We just wasted like 5 seconds or 6 seconds or 8 seconds to do whatever we're doing for him to come back out, in this case, to reset it for whoever is Scotty. Like, this makes no sense. None of this, like, we're not 12 seconds now. We had 12 seconds around the clock and we've done nothing. We've put not one lick of pressure on the Atlanta defense. We've done nothing. And if I sit here for one more season to watch more, we just playing dress up and running back and forth, just doing stuff. Like, it's like, oh my gosh. Ugh. That was an interesting decision on the fast break.
Yes.
On multitude of
Yes. Do you want me to go back to that one?
No, you can move on.
Yeah, so we'll watch some of these. That was a good decision.
That was a good good cleanup there, right? So
Yeah.
Brown has him beat. Obviously, he thinks he's got a wide open shot there for the young.
And he takes a good step towards.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say this: his strength with shot blocking is when he's in close quarters, right?
Yes.
That's where is.
Like there.
Right there, exactly right. When the guy's on the run,
boom.
Right, he's not the type of guy when a guy's on the runway. He's gonna
no.
Yeah, he's vertically challenged, and he's not as quick-footed to get in the spot in time.
No.
But if he's in tight quarters, he has enough of an instinct to get up there to at least challenge the shot. Tight quarters again.
Right there.
Boom.
Yeah,
right there we go. Yeah. But the thing is, the way they want to deploy him on defense is they want him out here. He
should have got a foul actually for that.
Yeah, really, yeah. But that's a play we see him get burned on plenty of times, right? Where he's out in space.
That's technically a foul, and he gets some ball, but that was not all ball, what they would say.
Yeah, and that's where he gets in trouble when he's out there in space because that's not the type of natural shot blocker he is.
Which is why you need another shot blocker. And the other issue here is that yes, Scotty at times can do some cleanup himself, but then it's like you have Scotty running around like that, and that's way too much. That you're giving the man young. That's too much work. Now I know that some people want to see CMB, Scotty, and Jakob from a defensive standpoint. I mean, it's interesting. I think from a defensive standpoint, it's interesting. From an offensive standpoint, it's I don't know. But I actually, maybe I'm the CMB fanboy on here, but I think that CMB from a defensive standpoint is at least for what he showed in Summer League so far, he could be one of the better defenders on this team, if not the best defender in short order. However, I don't want them to now take his skill set and assume that they can play an overzealous style of basketball.
Well, that's where, I think that's one concern. The other concern is going back to our small ball 5 discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where it's like the same play you just showed just now with Poeltl there on that Orlando pick and roll. They want to play a small ball CMB there. And I think they can get away with that, especially playing against a team like Orlando with size. And they just put CMB there and he'll just block the shot, and he'll be mobile enough to get around. It's like, well, that's not necessarily the case.
Totally agree. Can I plug one thing before we get out of here? Because we're coming up on an hour. Blue Jays. Playoffs are coming. Stay tuned, people. The Blue Jays are number 1 in their bracket. Stay tuned. They are doing really well. They have 90 wins. This is one of the best seasons that they've had in a couple of years. So stay tuned. I just wanted to plug that, of course. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, I must admit, the stadium looks good since they did the renovations. I mean, it's a lot cozier. I must admit, it's always a better-looking stadium when the dome is open than when it's closed.
Yes.
It really feels like a park when it's open.
And there's a difference in the lighting too.
Yeah. I must admit though, man. I mean, it got a sponsor left back to slap something on in the field, man. Because my gosh, every spot of it's got a sponsor somewhere, man.
Hey, got to pay for the renovation somehow, right?
Got to pay for that bloody contract, I guess, right?
Precisely. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like I was probably a little bit harsh on everything. I think we're done sharing the screen for now. But yeah, I think it sounded like I was really harsh. Overall, I think Poeltl has some benefits that he provides people. But I think, to your point, the most interesting man is the one that I'm not going to focus on in this series, which is Brandon Ingram. How does everyone fit with Brandon Ingram? Because Brandon Ingram, I don't think he's good enough to make everything work to the most optimal level, but he does enough different things on an offensive standpoint that he starts to make things make more sense, at least so that you can envision how it would look if you had insert X person down the road. And in some ways, the other thing that he does is he shifts everyone down back to what we were a couple years ago for a 6-game stint into their more natural state, where they should be in the pecking order.
True. Even though I do think I would hope this year, to be honest with you, just on a final note for me, is like I hope Poeltl in this case is not going to take up this much of the offense this year.
True.
I would hope that one of the younger fellows in this case would get more run, and they now bump up to get some of that PR that we saw for Poeltl. I don't want another season of Poeltl.
Now, the biggest debate that I've had with some people offline is whether or not Brandon Ingram will be able to have a higher usage level than people think. And I think the answer is yes, he will, because number one, he has said it. They've had conversations, management, whoever's left in management has. Bobby certainly has told him that he basically, more or less, like he is a staple of the offense. And the other thing is when Bobby is saying he liked to shoot and this other dude liked to pass, that's telling you where the ball is going to be going.
Yeah, he's the first option, no two ways about it. The question is like, is he like I guess, I think that it's going to be interesting who's the second option and how much does that second option get?
Yeah. Would you? Okay, here I've heard it a couple places. I'm just wondering your thoughts. Would you bench Ochai to maximize this team? Or sorry, would you bench RJ to maximize this team and start Ochai?
Start Ochai?
This is what's being put out there.
Oh my gosh, Ochai's not even in my rotation. It's up to me.
Okay,
that's how I feel about it. So like, if he's here, he's here. Sorry, folks. RJ's here. He will play. I honestly think he's going to be the second option on this team.
My argument. Well, first of all, there's 2 Duke guys, so there's going to be a connection.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that like to sit RJ and start Ochai just for the sake of the defense working, when you lose out on the only other person who can consistently create an advantage, even though it's inefficient at times. He's one of the only other dudes that gets the ball moving gets guys moving and the defense moving, because no matter what, even if they back up and give him a run, like they know that he's going to drive, he still gets to the rim every single time. So it's hard to bench that. But most importantly, from like just a ego-centric standpoint, the guy's making almost $30 million. You're not going to bench a dude like that.
I think it's the most preposterous thing I've heard in a long time. That's saying something.
I'm not trying to diss anyone else's take or anything like that. I'm just saying it's been out there and it's been a suggestion. And again, I'm not trying to, people get sensitive. I'm not trying to think. I'm just saying, like, I'm just asking what you would do. That's all.
I think people lost the damn mind. That's what I think. But fair enough, because because like I'm sitting here going, like, is Ochai gonna be here in 6 months or 3 months? Like, you like, seriously?
If you want my honest opinion, I think it goes the way of Davion Mitchell. I think that there's
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, who are you investing in long term? Like Ochai, you could argue like Ochai or RJ, but honestly, both those dudes may not be here no more.
This is the Davion Mitchell discussion from a year ago. Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're doing
like this. You have a decision to make, and also if it comes down to it, and RJ is hard to move because of his value. If people think he's so unvaluable, then you're stuck with him then. And from that perspective too, I'm not saying that he is or he isn't. I'm just saying, like, if he is that unvaluable, then no one's gonna want him. And the guy that is more valuable that is on a cheaper contract is the guy that's gonna get moved.
I've never seen a fan that gets so obsessed talking about guys that are 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th guys on a typical bench.
You have a good point there. I mean, we've seen it with Precious, for example, where it's like you and I were like, this dude ain't gonna be here no more. We've seen it with Flynn. This dude ain't gonna be here no more. We've seen it with like a lot of guys. It's like the guys that are gonna be here, like people are like, yeah, like whatever. I don't know with RJ if he's gonna be here for sure or not. We'll see. But like what I will say is that like I don't know for Ochai, like it comes down to this. They're already in the luxury tax. Do I see them committing additional money for Ochai?
Mm.
I don't know because it's if your team is good, like a really good team. On most teams that are playoff bound from last year, is Ochai starting?
Of course not.
Okay, well then I rest my case. That's how I look at it. I always look at it like,
folks, this ain't hard to figure out. Just for the folks here that end up listening to this, like and obviously watching now, like think of it this way from a logical standpoint: a team that was tanking and said he was a first round pick for them, and say, you know what, we're good, and they threw him in. They threw him in.
So
One more time. They threw him in to the trade.
Let's go through the teams just in case. I know you said no, but let's go through the playoff team. I'll go all the way down to the play in. We'll start with the West. Kings, would he start?
No.
Or would he have started, I should say?
No.
Warriors?
No.
Pelicans?
No.
Actually, sorry, I went back one year too much. Sorry. So last year, because I'm like the Pelicans weren't there.
Pelicans.
The Mavs last year,
No.
maybe because of their roster being so.
No.
Who was you guys? No. Because like after Kyrie went down, who was there?
We had played Dinwiddie, and we had played. Who else? Klay Thompson was still on the team playing.
Oh, right, Klay. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No.
Next, Grizzlies. Nope.
No.
T-Wolves.
Keep moving.
The Clippers, Nuggets,
Keep
Lakers,
Keep moving.
Rockets.
Keep moving.
I don't think he's playing on the OKC Thunder. Okay.
Yeah, keep moving.
East, the Bulls. Maybe,
No.
I guess.
No.
But I doubt it. The Hawks.
No.
Okay, like him or Dyson Daniels, folks, right?
Yeah,
Dyson Daniels defends better, clearly.
Up for DPOY.
And is 6'9".
It's up for DPOY consideration, okay?
The Heat?
No.
Okay. Magic? Maybe, because they were so busted last year.
By the time they were done at the end of the season,
they didn't even have Suggs.
No, they have Suggs for most of the rest of the season, but who's their guards by the time the season ended?
It was Cole Anthony and like Anthony Black. I'd say I'm gonna give him the nod there.
Okay.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Would you start him over Gary Trent?
No.
Okay. Even with the defense.
He wasn't starting over Gary Trent if Gary Trent's playing for this team.
I'm just tossing it out there.
Gary Trent started for us in this case here. No. And we stunk. And he played for a better team. He started. No. He's not starting for
Okay. The Pacers.
Oh, heck no.
Knicks.
No.
Cavs. Celtics. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's put that puppy to bed for now.
Yeah.
There's a world where he could start. I would personally. I'm not trying to hate on the thing, but I would personally be a little bit concerned if that was the case. But that's just me. But
you couldn't start in Utah. He was a first round pick for them.
True. Now there are reasons for that. You could say they're trying to tank and all this type of stuff. But either way, I think the whole point is that he did they got enough of a look. They made their decision. Right. In terms of this year, one of the things that I think that we both want to see moving forward is decisions that are made more rapidly. So yeah, I'll end it on that note. Folks, like, comment, and subscribe if you are watching this now or later. Really appreciate it. Stay tuned on Basketball Rewind. We will get into more of this stuff. Coach will be back at some point as well. And I'm going to be covering more of this, and we will get back to our regularly scheduled programming like stuff in the middle of the week. And we'll also be doing draft talk at some point this year. So, yeah, take care, people, and peace. Any final words to be on before I get out of here? I just want to make sure. All right, cool. Well, peace, people.